everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be going over the nationwide weather this upcoming week and why we might see a little bit of severe weather this upcoming week in part of the United States. We'll also be discussing a potential tropical storm or maybe even a hurricane that could impact Florida this week. I'm going to give you a latest breakdown on that in this forecast. Let's first begin with what's going on across the United States today, beginning with the northern plains, where we actually have a trough that has been developing back up there just north of North Dakota. It is actually bringing a little bit of some snow showers. If you're in far North Dakota, you might be seeing a little bit of some flurry action right now. But on the other hand, the only other system that's impacting the United States today is actually a frontal boundary that extends all across the East Coast. That is all associated with that trough that brought us the severe weather and that tornado outbreak this past Friday, which that will be moving out. No severe weather is expected beyond this point with that system, and so we will be moving on from that system that brought us a lot of severe weather. Now, on the other hand, we're watching closely this upcoming week for a different trough to start building into the western portions of the United States. This could potentially bring not just some possibility for some severe weather, but it also might bring a little bit of a snowstorm. So maybe a little trough that develops in here going into late Wednesday into Thursday. This will eventually potentially bring some more showers, some storms, and again, some snow back up in the Midwest. So this will be a system to watch for more for the northern United States, but a cold blast will come with this for areas that are actually down here into areas like the southern plains. And this is back to Tuesday, where that cold front is back up into the northern plains, and eventually going to Friday and Saturday. This is all your colder air ushering in, and again, that could affect areas in the southern plains as well. So again, this will be a pretty big cold blast. It will reach areas as far south as even potentially Florida. So again, big cold air is going to be coming toward our region heading into at least late this week, and if not into the weekend. So you'll definitely feel some impacts, most likely across most of the United States. Now let's look day by day in terms of what we're going to be expecting in terms of precipitation. So again, we have that tropical system. We'll talk about more on that here in a second, but I want you to focus more on the central and northern plains. This is where we could have that trough that begins to develop. It might bring some severe weather on the eastern side of it, but look over here on the western and northern side. There could be even some snow with this. So this will definitely be a system to watch for as it again continues to develop over the upcoming days. We're still about an hour, 100 hours out from this, so I'll have more updates for you over the next couple of forecasts to give you an idea of how much snow you actually might see out of that. Eventually heading into next weekend, again, there's a lot of uncertainty beyond then because it does depend on the track of this tropical system. It also depends on the intensity and as well as the track of this little trough that'll be developing over the United States. So again, some uncertainty long term, but definitely something to watch for here over the next several days. Now, tropics, we have a couple of big areas to talk about. The main area is going to be the one that's heading towards Florida. There is actually currently a high potential that this develops at least into a tropical storm. Some computer models are bringing this not to just a strong tropical storm, but possibly even a little bit of a category 1 hurricane. So this will be something to watch for as it moves towards Florida. Current track is really going to be somewhere towards the east coast of Florida. Furthest north right now it is projected to go would be maybe Georgia or South Carolina in terms of its track, but a lot of computer models have been bringing it towards Florida and then into the Gulf of Mexico briefly, and then back out to the north and east once that jet stream starts to dip next week. Timing will be crucial though on this system. Current infrared imagery on this system as well. Again, it's not too organized yet, but it is beginning to organize a little bit more here over the last 24 hours. Some thunderstorm activity ongoing in those reds and as well as those oranges, but other than that, again, we're watching the system pretty closely. It is just north of Puerto Rico right now, so definitely be something to watch for long term. Here are just a couple of computer models. We don't have all of them on this graphic for you, but again, some of them are really indicating that this will at least get to a tropical storm over the next 2 days. So it's very likely this will develop into something and then potentially a category 1 hurricane once it gets closer to Florida. So again, this will be a system to watch for very closely. A bunch of the ensembles from the GFS model are indicating this will go towards Florida and make landfall somewhere on the East Coast. Most of them have kept it south of Melbourne area, so possibly between about the Florida Keys back through Miami, then back through Port St. Lucie and Melbourne. Those areas, that's kind of like the landfall that might occur. Again, that's probably the best potential for right now, but otherwise there's a possibility it goes slightly further north. A lot of computer models bring this back into the Gulf of Mexico, and then long term it is a bit of a question mark on where it'll head. I'm going to show you two different computer models. We're going to begin with the European model, which has kept this system a bit on the weaker side. Now, it still brings it to at least around a tropical storm level by the time it gets closer to Florida. So you can see eventually going into Wednesday, it gets pretty close to areas near Miami, and eventually going to Wednesday into Thursday, this makes landfall as at least some sort of tropical storm. Then it goes into potentially the Gulf of Mexico. It's probably going to stay around the same strength, if not maybe even weaken a little bit. And then by Friday into Saturday, it moves off to the northeast pretty quickly. Again, the jet stream is going to be pretty crucial in this system, which is what we're monitoring with that other trough. off, that might bring impacts to the United States as well. GFS models brought this to a much stronger tropical storm, if not even a category 1 hurricane. Pressure could drop below 980 according to the GFS, so we do have to watch this system pretty closely. We are only about 90 to 120 hours out from this making landfall, so it's not far away. So we'll have much more certainty here over the next couple of days on where this will make landfall and how much of a strong potentially tropical storm this might actually get to. Eventually going to Wednesday into Thursday, it makes a landfall in Florida, and then eventually into Friday and Saturday, this will kind of stay over Florida, so a lot of rain is probably going to come out of this and eventually race off to the northeast once that jet stream really picks that system up, because again, it's going into Florida because that jet stream is not playing really much of a factor into its direction, and that's why it probably will not just go off to sea like some of these tropical storms end up doing. All right, rainfall totals that are being estimated over the next 7 days, we're probably going to see across Florida a good 1 to 3 inches in a lot of areas. Wherever this does make landfall or gets close to making landfall, we very well might see upwards of isolated amounts between 4 to 8 inches. So it will be something to watch for very closely, because again, a lot of rain will come out of this, and regardless of its development, this rainfall total amount will probably still occur. So regardless, again, the only other difference would be maybe some storm surge that would be pretty minimal most likely, and then potentially some gusty winds, maybe even a little bit of damaging winds wherever it might make landfall. Quick little look at next week going into Saturday morning. Temperatures are going to be cold across the United States after that cold front rolls through. Temperatures dropping into the single digits, below 0 possibly up in the northern plains, and then across much of the United States we will be below freezing on Saturday morning. Make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe if you've not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.